Klamath Falls, let's make it loud. A big rooster's crowing.
What's up, Klamath Falls? This is Mike.
What's up, Klamath Falls? This is Dave.
And I'm Cole Chase, Senior Deputy District Attorney in Klamath County.
Thank you very much for coming on the show, Cole. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of information. A lot of our viewers would like to, a lot of things that they would like to learn about.
Obviously, there are limits, but I'm going to do what I can. The purpose here is kind of to explain what our office does, our relationship to law enforcement and our other community partners. Law enforcement includes our sheriff's office, the state police, and our local police departments. We've got a couple. Everyone thinks of KFPD, but we also deal with some other agencies.
Okay.
But our main, in terms of as the case goes forward, vast majority of them come from those three agencies, and it's our relationship with them. Additionally, then our relationship with the defense bar and the courts.
Okay.
And ultimately parole and probation after a person's finally been placed on probation.
And so based off of that, who are you?
So I'm the Senior Deputy District Attorney here in Klamath County, which means I work for Dave Scott. I've been in and out of the DA's office since 2004. Started there in 2004 and worked there for about 10 years. Moved up through the ranks from a baby DA, handling nothing but misdemeanors, up until I hit a serious felony caseload. Left the DA's office for a period of time. It went into private practice, did some defense work, and just a general practice. I did family law and defense and pretty much anything that walked in the door. Then I went back to the DA's office under Eve Costello. And I know that name can elicit some strong feelings. I still am pleased with the time that I spent working for her. She took a big risk politically to take me back into the office, and it was that risk that she took that explained to law enforcement the role I could play. And that actually gave Dave the confidence to keep me in the position that I have.
Okay.
When I talk about Dave, he goes, his formal elected official name is David Scott. I call him Dave, and I'm going to refer to him as Dave when we talk here. He doesn't like it. He prefers me to call But
sorry, Dave.
So he is the elected DA for Klamath County,
Okay.
which means that he's the chief law enforcement officer for the county. Any district attorney is the chief law enforcement officer for a given county, which means that they have the final say on all criminal matters in terms of charging a case to go forward. That is actually constitutionally limited. When we think about that, you think, well, gosh, isn't it the sheriff? The sheriff's got to be the top law.
I was just going to ask.
It's actually not. And if you think about it this way, when a police officer arrests someone, they can put them in jail and they can hold them for up to a maximum of about 36 hours is the general rule. That's the official rule, but then that changes if it's over the weekend and then if there is a judicial holiday. So it's 36 hours, 36 court hours.
Okay.
So it means, let's say you get hooked on, when I say hooked, that means arrested. You get hooked on a Friday afternoon and Monday is Memorial Day. You're not going to see a judge until 1:30. If our office, the DA's office, has not filed a charging instrument by that time, you get out.
Okay.
So that's the limit of the power of law enforcement. Your chief of police can't hold you for longer than that. Your sheriff can't hold you for longer than that. State police can't hold you for longer than that. To be held longer than that, a DA has to review a case and make a charging decision. And the way that happens is we get a police report. It's typically referred for charges. So a cop will say, hey, here's what I saw in this date. Here are the crimes that I think happened. And I'm going to speak colloquially. I'll talk about them as cops and stuff. I'm not going to always say law enforcement because this is what I do every day. And so I'm going to use the shorthand. I'm going to talk to you guys like I talk to normal people.
Perfect.
All right.
Probably good for the audience too.
Right. No, I appreciate
We're
that.
good. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. So we get a police report, and then we make a charging decision based on that. And if it's felony, then we run it through grand jury. We have to do that within 7 days. But that's it. That's why my boss is the chief law enforcement officer for any given county. The DA, my boss for our county.
Okay. And things like bail, and that is set more by a judge. You guys make a recommendation, if I understand that, or?
Yep, absolutely. So let's say a person now has been charged with crime and they're appearing in front of a judge. The judge has an opportunity to consider the issue of bail. And bail just means whether or not they're going to be released. It's not the actual amount. We use bail to think of it as the money amount. The correct term is security. And I'm kind of a word dork, so that part is important. So when I have someone who I want to stay in custody, I ask the court to set security. I don't ask for bail because bail is any form of release. It can be you are released on your promise to appear. That can be a bail. And it's just a matter of semantics. It's more important to lawyers than it is to the everyday person. When you guys are thinking about bail, you're thinking about how much do they have to pay to get out of custody.
Exactly.
And that's actually, I think that's going to be. Why don't we just jump into Senate Bill 48 instead?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I think that's
Because
probably
that, I think, is the biggest challenge and stumbling block you guys face.
It is, and it's one of the things that is most frustrating for lots of our law enforcement partners, and then by extension, it affects the community significantly. So, Senate Bill 48 was a bill that passed. That this was an initiative by legislators in Salem that wanted to limit the number of people staying in custody pre-trial and how long they stay. And so what happened is they identified just a straight out flat list of every crime out there. Here's a list of all of the crimes in the criminal code. And we're going to categorize them. Category 1, if you fall in that category, you are automatically going to be released on your own recognizance with the standard conditions. And those standard conditions are things like make your future court appearances, stay in contact with your attorney, commit new crimes, notify the court of change of address. Those are the standard conditions. I'm probably missing something because I only have to deal with them when I argue them, and then I have that document in my hand when I'm doing it.
Okay.
There's a lot of shit I need to know that I have on paper. So if I know where to find it, that's what I do rather than jam it in my brain. Oops, and I did it again. Yeah, so I'm going to swear sometimes.
Real conversation.
The truth is, I tell this, one of my responsibilities is I orient our grand juries every 2 months. And when I do that, I say, hey, look, I'm going to swear because what I say is not the worst shit you're going to hear. You're going to hear about shitty people doing shitty stuff to other people. If my language is the worst thing that our grand jurors ever had to hear, everyone would want to be a grand juror. So
Right.
so that's just part of it. So I'm talking about Senate Bill 48. And you guys jump in if you have any questions.
Great.
Because
I just had a comment. Sheriff Mitchell posted on the KCSO's Facebook page the other day, The Matrix.
oh,
And
really?
you had to scroll and scroll and
Oh, yeah.
scroll through all of the
did
various conditions. I read about 10 minutes worth and I wasn't even halfway through it. It's ridiculous.
And you have to understand that this is a limitation placed on our jail as a bill that passed and a presiding judge order. It takes discretion away from our jail. If Sheriff Mitchell were fully staffed, his jail has 155 beds, and the jail were completely empty, and a person that committed one of these crimes was taken into custody, regardless of the capacity of this jail and the desire of our community to hold that person, we could not hold them. They would have to be released under the Senate bill. And I'm going to give you later on, I'll give you some examples of some real life horrible examples of what that means.
So what you're saying is this is a Salem problem, not a Klamath Falls
It
problem.
is, and it ties the hands of our jail and our sheriff. I know Shane. He's a friend of mine. I've worked with him my entire career. His hands are tied. I know a lot of people want to blame him for this, and you're looking for someone to blame, but this is the legislature taking the authority away from our sheriff and from our community because we have priorities. We have when our commissioners have prioritized community safety. They have put additional funds into law enforcement, our office, the sheriff's office, and the jail because it's a priority to them. And we still cannot take full advantage of the fact that it is a priority for our community because of what Salem has done.
Wow. So frustrating.
Yeah, it seems like a horrible spot because, like, a little bit ago we were talking about defund the police and all this stuff. This is pretty much doing it in a different way.
De-arming the police?
Oh, yeah, I mean,
defunding them.
Yeah, it just takes away a tool that we have. Cases resolve when people are in custody. People don't like to sit in jail. In fact, when I was talking to Christy, I did an interview with her earlier this week when I was talking to her. I talked about how a lot of our people who've been to prison before would rather be in prison than our Klamath County jail because there's more shit to do there. They have programs and they get time out of their cell. When they're up at our jail, there aren't classes about a whole bunch of things. There's not a giant library you get to go to. They do have their chirp things. Have you guys heard about the chirps?
No.
Holy shit. So, so now when you are in the Klamath County Jail, you can get a chirping device if you pay for it, and it allows you to text people in the outside world. I believe it allows you to make phone calls, but I'm not sure about that part. That may not be accurate. I think they may still have to use the regular phone system for that. But also, I think like download videos and stuff too. just like on your cell phone.
Wow.
Yeah. But they have to pay for it. I mean, and it's not the same rate that you would get going through one of our local providers. It's expensive, but
Good.
it's still
Well,
Right.
makes it a lot easier to spend your time sitting up in the jail if you have the ability to watch your Netflix.
Yeah.
So,
A little more incentive to not go to jail if you're just sitting there staring at four walls.
yeah.
But that would be cruel, I suppose.
Yeah, jail resolves cases because they don't like to sit there. And there are times when I resolved a case earlier this week with an out-of-town attorney, and he said, it's a big pitch to my client if I can say you get out today. And so we structured a negotiation that got that guy out today. He had more consequences on the back end as a result of his desire to get out. And so that's an ability for us to protect our community.
And we need it. I mean, crime has just gotten kind of crazy in Klamath County, it seems like.
Yeah,
No?
I've been there for 20 years.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd love to hear your perspective because is it just social media bringing more to the surface or?
Yeah, to some extent. So
Okay.
so when I got here, we had a local newspaper, we had a reporter in town, and the news covered crime pretty well. And then we lost basically the Herald News left the community in terms of there are no reporters here. We used to have one that covered public meetings and was in contact with our office. That person doesn't exist anymore. If there is a person like that, they have multiple communities and they occasionally will reach out to our office, I think from Medford.
Okay.
And same thing with the news, with the TV station.
Yeah, Lyle Aaron's retired.
Yeah, we used to have Lyle here, and it was fantastic. He would regularly call us for information about stuff, and would do interviews. And it just doesn't exist anymore. So we went through a period of time when they went away, and now because of the access to social media, it's ramping up again, and people are becoming more aware of it again. It's easier to get the information because of shows like this.
Okay. Yeah, and that's kind of the purpose. I mean, we do that.
And even Facebook too. I mean, Facebook is the scanner and news. With the
Yeah.
Klamath scanner and news, I believe is what it is.
Yeah, they took the N news off now. It's been rebranded as just Klamath Falls Scanner.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Honestly, if you follow that very closely, you'll understand it. But no, actually, we're talking about doing a segment, and each of us pull a story off the internet, off of Facebook, and feature it on a little segment. But we're still working on that.
So yeah, we charge in our office right around 4,000 crimes a year.
Okay.
And that hasn't changed since I've been in the DA's office. What has changed, it fluctuates a couple hundred in either direction during that period of time. What has changed is that when I started, there was my boss, the elected DA, Ed Caleb, had been in the office for a couple decades when I got there, and there were 9 other deputy DAs. There were a total of 9 deputy DAs. Today now, my boss is Dave Scott, and there are 5 deputy DAs.
Okay.
So we have fewer than half, and the same number of cases. So
Wow.
and right now, as I know you guys are aware, we have a lot of murders right now. We had a period of time when, and I know I talk a lot, so you guys jump in.
No, you're fine.
We had a period of time when Eve Costello had resigned and DOJ was running the office, and we were trying to get a new DA in there. And during that period of time, there were only 2 deputy DAs, and then DOJ staffed the rest of it. And during that period of time, a lot of cases just couldn't get handled. They didn't have the depth. Like I said, I've been doing this for 20 years. Dave's been doing it for close to 30. The next closest in our office is Dan Higgins, who's just over a decade now as a prosecutor.
Okay.
And then we've got some new guys.
Yeah.
So, it's tough. When I started in the DA's office, let's see, I was a baby DA.
Is that an official title?
So right now, our brand new hire, Cody is our brand new hire, and he is off at a training program put on by DOJ that is done every year at this time of the year by DOJ for the new batch of graduates that are coming in, and it's called Baby DA School.
Okay.
So it's not official, but it's official.
I get you.
Yeah, it's actually called Beginner or Introduction to Prosecution or something like that, but it's Baby DA.
So are you guys up against funding limitations as far as bringing more in, or is there a challenge of finding people to bring in?
Yeah, there's as much as lawyers suck, God, they suck. We need more lawyers. There's
Yeah.
a shortage across the state in every field of practice. When I was in private practice, I constantly had people say, "Hey, are you taking new divorces? Are you taking new divorces?" Because there's no attorneys in town doing them. Same thing with criminal defense attorneys. It's across the board. If you've ever had, you want to, you're want to buy a business, you're going to have trouble finding a business attorney just because there's a shortage of attorneys across the state, and that trickles down to us because we don't pay as well as the big firms in Portland. We don't pay as well as the DA's office in Portland, and we don't have all the same amenities that a young person might want. So we have to recruit on the fact that if you're going to come here, you're going to get to prosecute real cases real fast.
Okay.
And also the fact that we've got 3 career prosecutors in our office.
And the good news is you don't have to live in Portland.
There's some good places to eat.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So you kind of sent me a list here of some notes and that. We've talked about this a little bit, but limitations and frustrations. I mean,
I'm going to loop back to Senate Bill 48, okay?
okay, absolutely.
Yeah,
That makes
because
sense.
that's one of the frustrations. Like I said, having a person in custody closes cases. We have in our office, just when someone becomes, if they are a repeat offender, we call them frequent flyers. They can gather over a period of time, just a short period of time, a few months, a dozen cases, over and over again. And these are typically quality of life cases because to be subject to Category 1 from Senate Bill 48, they're not violent felons at this point. They're quality of life. Disorderly conduct. Now my penis is out when I'm at Denny's. Real cases.
I believe you. I've been to Denny's. I believe you.
And it's the same guy, same people getting arrested over and over again. So under the Senate bill, I have learned as part of my research on this that our average right now is about 100 a week that they have to release just on Senate Bill 48 Category 1. About 100 a week.
In Klamath County.
In Klamath County.
Wow.
Yeah. And those are not 100 separate people. Those are perhaps 75 different people, and the remainder of them are just our repeat offenders doing it over and over again. There was a time, so property crimes are on that list, which means that if you can keep your theft, if you load up your shopping cart at Walmart, I probably shouldn't be telling people how to commit their crimes. Yeah, these guys already know. There's what I colloquially refer to as the ship bag grapevine.
Okay.
Where they say, hey, if you do this, this is the only consequence you're going to face. And we know they talk about it because we have the opportunity to listen to their jail calls, and we can hear them saying, no, I was only $900, so they're not going to be able to keep me. So we know that they talk about this stuff, and we hear things like, here's what you should do. And when they're giving advice like that, it's part of the grapevine. So if you load up your shopping cart at Walmart, push it out the side, and you're under $900, if you're $990 or less, you're going to get Senate bill released straight away with just standard conditions. You hit over $1,000, you're now a felon. Category 2. Category 2 is special conditions. That's where the court gets to say, in addition to those general conditions, also no contact with Walmart. That's the extra consequence.
Wow.
Yeah. So category 2 is pretrial release on your own recognizance, but with special conditions. So those special conditions, if it's a case involving domestic violence, might include not have contact with a victim, if alcohol or substances were used, not consume intoxicants, or go to places where intoxicants are the primary purpose of business and things like that. So those are then court-added conditions. That's category 2. And then there's a shorter list of ones that fall into category 2. And then the last category for Senate Bill 48 is category 3, which is where you have to show up in front of a judge. A judge determines whether or not you're getting out, and if you don't get out, they set your security. And that's the opportunity that we have to argue. There are a couple circumstances under Oregon law where there is a prescriptive bail amount. Measure 11 is the one that most people know of. That's for our most serious violent felonies, murder, rape, serious assaults, physically harming children in certain ways, and then there's some trafficking stuff in there as well. Those require a mandatory minimum bail of $50,000. And then there's, as a follow-up to that, a few years later, we saw a whole bunch of drug trafficking going through Oregon of super substantial quantities. And the legislature passed a specific bill that put a mandatory minimum on that if you hit certain thresholds of certain types of drugs. So like 100 grams or more of methamphetamine, 50 more grams of fentanyl, then the bail has to be $500,000.
So just for a perspective, since you've got a lot of experience in this, before Senate Bill 48 passed, somebody rolled a shopping cart full of $900 worth of material out of Walmart. What would the repercussions have been then?
Fully staffed jail, all the beds open, fully staffed. They're going to sit in jail from somewhere between the day they're arrested to about 50 odd days to get their case resolved, or they'll plead fast on it and get out in 10 to 30 days.
And pleading fast would
That
be
means that they enter a guilty plea, they go on to probation, they agree to pay restitution. I roll.
right.
And have community service conditions. Typically, there's some skills building stuff in those probation conditions, trying to reduce the likelihood that they're going to commit new crimes. Maybe I should do a little bit of intro to criminal law for you guys. You want a little brief intro to criminal law?
Absolutely, whatever you're willing to discuss.
Six goals of the criminal justice system. 6 goals of the criminal justice system are general deterrence. That is, you create laws and you create a punishment for that law that's going to, in general, make people less likely to commit that act. Easiest one to think about is fines for speeding. You don't speed today as much as you might go fast because there's that risk. You're less likely to speed. You're less likely to go faster because you know at some point it's going to cost you some money. So that's a general deterrent. That affects everyone. The specific deterrence is when you craft a punishment directed at an individual offender for a specific offense. So this person has now committed this new crime. You are convicted of driving under the influence of intoxicants, and as a result of that, we're going to suspend your license for a year. You are going to have an ignition interlock device in your vehicle. You have to go to a victim impact panel. You're going to do 2 days in jail or 40 or 80 hours of community service. That specific deterrent is for your average citizen enough to say, hey, don't do it. And you're going to say, you know what? That sucked. I'm not going to do it. Doesn't work for everyone. So that's specific deterrent. And the goal is to craft a punishment that's going to deter them from committing crimes like that again in the future. So, and the punishments go up.
Okay.
I'm talking some baseline stuff here. Obviously, there are more serious punishments that we can talk about. So, general and specific deterrent. Then we talk about the R's. So there's restitution. And that in restitution, it's an effort to make the victims whole. That is, that as part of the system, part of your punishment within the system, you're going to pay restitution to make your victim whole. Rehabilitation speaks for itself. That's an effort to fix your problems so you're not going to repeat your offenses. Oregon is really rehabilitation heavy right now. Retribution is the third R. That is flat out, you did something wrong, this is your punishment.
Okay.
I think that's an important one that we undervalue right now. Our system doesn't do enough of that right now. And part of that is because we don't have the ability to do so. As prosecutors, we are subject to the Oregon sentencing guidelines, which govern what we can get for punishments. And then the very last one, I said there were 6. The last one is incapacitation. That is, you just create a circumstance where that individual is incapable of committing new crimes for a period of time. Prison and the death penalty. Those are the 2 versions of incapacitation.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And restitution. And we're back.
All right, thanks for that.
Yeah.
So biggest frustration is
Yeah.
the inability to hold people accountable for what they've done.
And I imagine that's you guys, that's the sheriff, that's city, that's OSP. It's probably all law enforcement that has that frustration, I would think.
And so you got to remember, the time when I see them on a piece of paper where they've finally been arrested, that's not the first time that cop has seen them that week. They have had several interactions, gotten to the point where it's like, all right, this time it rises to the level of crime. I'm sure you've heard about repeat incidents at Sugarman's Corner and the city's efforts to kind of reduce those problems. It's a continuing problem.
And as a citizen, I mean, that's frustrating because Sugarman's Corner, the whole downtown area is really a nice downtown area.
Charming and pleasant, and I love being on a fantastic day with a little crispness. You're walking down the street, stop in and have lunch.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Great little restaurants, great little stores down there, and
Comes
then,
at you with a stick.
yeah. So it's so frustrating, but I think I'm glad you're here because I really feel like a lot of the anger, disappointment, and I don't know how else you want to phrase it, that the community feels truly is misdirected. And I've been a part of that myself. So elections have consequences. That's nice. famous phrase, right?
Yeah.
Elections have consequences. So it's probably better to know who you're voting for in Salem and how they're going to represent the state as a whole versus.
Well, and also there's an opportunity coming up. There's a new ballot initiative that Kevin Mannix has advanced that I believe has enough votes now. I think it's going to be on the ballot for November, and that is, I don't know the official name for it. I think it's the Oregon Crime Fighters Act or Crime Fighting Act or something like that. But basically, it's to reverse Senate Bill 48.
Okay.
And Kevin Mannix, he advanced Measure 11 way back in the day. Measure 73, which is, was it 73? It's we call it Mini Measure 11. It was a response to repeat property crime offenses. Certain repeat property crime offenses now have mandatory sentences that they didn't used to have.
Okay.
And I can talk about that another time. I like to have the it's a little bit technical. There's 3 different categories and stuff. So if that's something you want to talk about, I can happily talk to you about that another time.
Sure.
I just want to make sure I have the resources in front because, like I said, it's a lot to know, and I don't ever have it in my brain when I do it. I always have resources that I refer to, and I wouldn't want to mislead anyone.
Okay. Well, and then we've got. I mean, we could probably spend 4 hours sitting here talking to you and not cover everything. I mean, there's so many intricacies and so many, concerns in the community that I don't know what the answer is to change the laws, right?
Change the laws, yep, absolutely. And leadership, too. You guys have talked about leadership in the past. Unfortunately, I think you were being critical of Shane when you were doing it, because I don't think that's the solution. I don't necessarily think that's the solution. I know that there's some... Well, here's the thing, is that Shane is in a tough position. Whenever you're in a position like his, or like my boss's Dave, you have to make decisions. And every time you make a decision, you piss some people off and you make some people happy, and they never remember when you made them happy.
Yeah.
Never remember when you piss them off. So there's this sort of cumulative resentment that builds up for people in those positions. Sometimes it happens faster for certain people than it does others, but it happens.
Well, and the frustration, I guess, on my part, and what kind of led me down that road, and I'll admit when I'm wrong. I've reached out, I don't know how many times to his office. If he doesn't want to talk to me, send Under Sheriff Smith or somebody, and not even well, you'll get a call back. You don't even get a call back, and I want to share both sides of the story, and so they have not done that, but having you here is kind of shedding a light on what they're going through.
Here's the important thing to realize. I'm a lawyer, but I'm not a supervisor. Supervisors have to deal with shit that prevent them from saying certain things that they want to say. And Shane's a down-to-earth guy. And, if he gets in front of a camera and starts talking to you like he talks to people, there's a chance that he could say something that gets himself in trouble. So he's protecting himself, his agency, the county, which means he's protecting you as a voter by not making public statements that can give someone an opportunity to take advantage of. So,
Okay.
It's cautious.
Yeah.
And I think it's prudent on his part. Me, I'm a little bit different because I'm not a supervisor. I don't ever have to supervise people, and I'm not privy to personnel issues. That's human resources. That's my boss. I don't have to deal with that stuff. So I get to talk about system stuff in general. But I mean, I'm just going to throw out a hypothetical. Let's say for one of the reasons that he can't talk to you is because in the middle of you wanting to talk to him, there's some accusation by a victim of a crime that let's say victim of a crime that when the officers went in, they damaged that person's property. He's got to stay quiet about stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he's just got to be cautious, which is one of the reasons why bigger law enforcement agencies will have public spokespeople, but we don't have the resources for that. I'd rather have that person out on the street or in our jail right now.
Right. I know it's something that Commissioner Nichols has talked about too, is the possibility of even a single spokesperson for the county itself, and including the sheriff's department.
Isn't that Andy?
Yeah,
Wait, no.
right. Kudos to him, because he's never shied away from coming on the show or talking to us, and invited me in his office several times. So,
Never invited me in there. If you're watching, Andy, just across the street.
Right.
So I'll do a curveball, I guess. Who's Cole on the weekend? What does Cole like to do?
Right now, my stupid daughter convinced me I'm running another marathon. She decided after I quit running that she wanted to be a runner. She's like, I think I want to do a marathon this year. So I'm training for a marathon again. I also mountain bike a bunch. I'll climb anything that has snow on it. So I run, bike, and climb. That's pretty much it. And I work. Right now we're shorthanded. So I'm typically in the office at least one day on the weekend for anywhere 4 to 10 hours over the weekends. It's typically me, and that's just part of our caseload. Dave, my boss, Dan Higgins, another one of the senior prosecutors, and myself are typically in the offices. And that's because you've got crimes where you're preparing for a trial where there is a juvenile victim, where stepdad has touched her for years and years. That shit takes time, and you can't work from home doing that stuff because it changes your life.
Oh, I bet.
Yep.
I bet. Yeah, that's got to be tough. I can't.
Yeah, so I'm real careful to make sure that my work does not go home. During COVID, a bunch of people worked from home. I was always at the office. I had to keep that separation.
Yeah, yeah. Do we want to talk about your aspirations looking forward?
I'm running for judge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm getting at. I don't want to just throw it out there.
Yeah, well, so you heard me refer to myself as a career prosecutor earlier. I've always thought of myself as a career prosecutor. But I actually had a meeting with a victim a couple weeks ago. It was about 3 weeks ago. It was Christy. She was in the office, and my boss and I were talking to her. And she was saying, well, what can you do to change it? And they were like, well, we can't change this. This is all comes from different places. And we had talked to her about the different places where there were issues. And I realized that one of the places I could make a change is if I was on the bench. So part of it is I think we need stronger sentences. Our judges, we, as I said, we are confined by the Oregon sentencing guidelines. Any given crime, there is a matrix, different matrix.
Okay.
Not the jail matrix. And in fact, our jail, by the way, has 2 different matrices. It has the Senate Bill 48 matrix, and then it has a population matrix. So there's 2 different factors that influence that, but Senate Bill 48 is the controlling matrix that is generally leading to these repeat offenders being out in the community. If it's a population issue, our jail is keeping our dangerous offenders because that's where they have their discretion, and they are keeping dangerous offenders. So because judges are confined by the Oregon sentencing guidelines, they are still guidelines, and our judges absolutely have the opportunity and the authority to sentence greater than they do currently. We have a fantastic bench for the most part. Although I don't know if you've noticed, I think there was a press release today. Judge Kersey has indicated that she's going to be resigning, and the governor is seeking an appointment for that seat. Has started that, which means that Governor Kotek is going to pick who our next judge is, at least for a short period of time.
Why is that not a decision that's left up to the people that live here?
Ultimately, it is. When a governor appoints a judge or a DA, the law says that they have to stand for the next general election, which is November. Now, Judge Kersey's seat was going to expire at that point anyways, so the filing deadline opened, or the filing for that opened in September. So far, 2 people have filed, myself and Mika Bear, and with an appointment process now, more people are going to file one. People who didn't think that they could win an election, that have more appeal to Salem, that have an agenda more consistent with the Salem agenda, are going to seek those appointments. And so it's not changing the fact that I'm going to run. And truthfully, I'm running as the tough on crime candidate.
Good. That's what we need. That's really what we need.
I'm the only prosecutor that's going to be running. A couple of people that are likely to seek that position have some experience as prosecutors, but none of them have 20 years, or my roughly 17 years, more than 100 trials, including murder, child sex abuse, convictions. I was trying to do some math the other day because it seems like something like a campaign on. I've easily sent. I've got more than 2,000 years in prison on.
Oh wow.
On about 50 individuals combined.
Yeah, still that's.
Yeah. And that's just that's not considering the person that does 13 months here for a small DCS or something like that. Oh, delivery controlled substance.
Okay. Now, how long will they keep somebody at the jail here? Is there a limitation on that?
So you've done a pivot. Our jail serves a couple different functions. So it does pretrial detention, where a person can be held when they've been accused of a crime until their case is resolved. So they can be held pretrial detention. That's one thing. You can serve time in our local jail for a probation or parole violation. That is, your PO says, hey, you were supposed to come in and check in with me. When you did, you pissed hot for methamphetamine. You're going to do 10 days. And so you do a 10-day sanction in the jail. So first way is pretrial detention. Second way is a parole or probation sanction. And the third way is any criminal sentence that is less than 1 year is served in
Okay.
local jail. And that includes, so there are certain crimes where you actually serve a Department of Corrections term that is less than 1 year. In general, a prison sentence is considered to be 1 year or greater, but there are DOC sentences where you, Department of Corrections, Oregon Department of Corrections, where you will serve that sentence at your local jail. So let's say it's, best example, felony driving while suspended. You get enough of those, or if your underlying suspension was because you were involved in a motor vehicle crash that seriously injured or killed a person, and then you have a subsequent felony driving while suspended, you're going to serve about 6 to 8 months, and that's a DOC sentence. That's a felony conviction for a DOC sentence, but you serve it in your local jail, and then the state pays our local jail for that.
Okay. Yeah, and I didn't mean to switch lanes on you
Nope,
there.
no,
It
I
just,
caught the pivot.
it just brought up something, but
So a misdemeanor is any crime where the maximum possible punishment is less than 1 year of deprived liberty. That is jail or incarceration. When we talk about classifications for crimes, there's in Oregon 2 categories: misdemeanors and felonies. Then there are violations, which are not crimes. A crime is any act where if you commit the offense, you can be deprived of your liberty, your freedom to walk around. For misdemeanors, it's less than 1 year. For felonies, it's greater than 1 year.
okay. Well, and just personal preference, I probably shouldn't share this on the show, but I will. I would much rather have a prosecutor as a judge than a defense attorney, if I'm being honest.
Like what you're thinking. Did you want to agree with him?
Oh, I do.
Well,
So you said November election of 26,
yeah,
correct?
so primary in May. So what's going to happen is, based on the governor's press release, I'm guessing they're going to move quickly. We'll probably have a judge appointed before the middle of January, maybe faster. And that person will fill Judge Kersey's seat until the end of that term.
So like an interim kind of.
Yep, exactly. And this term expires at the end of 2026. New person would, let's say Judge Kersey continued to run, her next term would have actually taken place January of 2027. Now, because she's not running, whoever replaces that seat will take that seat in January of 2027. It could be that is the person that gets Kotek's appointment, or whoever wins a subsequent election. And that can be done, there's a couple opportunities. First off, in the primary, if any individual candidate for that seat gets greater than 50% of the vote, that person is the next judge. Or to win the general election in November, which is the majority. You get the most votes in November, and you get the seat. Excuse me. So that's it. There's a whole bunch of different opportunities there.
Okay.
The whole point of appointing now is it gives the governor's candidate a head start. They get to run as an incumbent. They could say, hey, look, I've been your judge for doing this and this. Look what I've done.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guarantee what's going to happen is that person is going to take the seat, and you're going to see some harsh sentences, and then for a period of time.
Until they got it permanently. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's, that was a question I posed when Christy was here on the show, I believe the last time, was how do you vet a judge? And that's why I appreciate you coming on, because this is a rare opportunity, honestly, to have somebody that's going to run to be a judge sit down and actually talk with us and through us to the public, to where we can get an idea besides just a name on a ballot, which happens all too often, in my opinion, not just with judges, but with other
all sorts of
positions.
candidates.
You have no idea who this person is. You just, what letter's next to their name, or, who's got the most yard signs out. And
We elect our Court of Appeals judges. I'm a lawyer who has been practicing it for 20 years. I've had those people make decisions on stuff that I do on a regular basis. Don't know who any of them are. Like, who is this one? That one, he screwed up last time. He could, vote the bastards out is what it was. But,
yeah.
yeah, and I mean, and a I like to think I'm an informed voter, and those are people that I interact with. It.
Yeah. I'm trying more and more to be not just an informed presenter, I guess, but a better informed voter. I've stepped on my own toes a couple of times on this show, but that's how you learn. And like I say, when I'm wrong about something, we try to own up to that. So,
All right, what else you got for me?
well, I was going to just ask you the same thing. Is there any other? Like I say, we could talk about a million different things for hours and hours. I'm sure you're a fairly busy guy, and I'm just. What would you like to convey to the public? Whether it's
So I kind of want to address a couple of a running theme that you've had with your program, because I've gone back and watched some of actually even before Christy put us in contact, I had watched a couple of your episodes, yeah, you definitely had some beef with our sheriff's office. And
have
as I'm watching, I was like, oh, he doesn't get it. He doesn't understand this part, and it's frustrating for you because you're trying to get the information. I understand you're trying to get it. You just got to understand that we're talking about public officials, and there's employment law rules, and there's public records rules and shit like that govern what people can say to you. They're not dodging you. These people aren't dodging you. There's shit that they have to do, and there's attorneys that advise them that are saying, I can't talk about that stuff.
you know what made a world of difference there is when I said we'll give you a call, just to give me a call and explain that to me. You know.
Who are you that you're entitled to that?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'm a taxpayer. I'm a voter, and I'm a citizen of Klamath County. But I know their hands are.
About there was the fact is that I'm a public employee. I am a public servant. I've spent the majority of my career serving this community. I was a defense attorney for a while, and I worked a fraction of the time. I made nearly twice as much money for about half as much work, but I didn't get the same professional satisfaction that I get from being a prosecutor. I have a lot of pride in what I do, and the fact that Dave lets me do it the way I do it. The reason I had to leave when I was working for Eve is we had a fundamental disagreement about the role that victims would play in the case and how we would hold people accountable. And so I left the office. She's still a good friend, and like I said, I'm always going to be loyal to her for that risk that she took to take me back.
Sure.
Because I wouldn't be sitting here today now. Dave would not have me as his effectively chief deputy today now if I hadn't proven what I could do when I worked for Eve Costello. And I had the same support from Dave Hensley as a result of that. I had the same support from lots of law enforcement. When I came back, they're like, really, Eve's bringing Cole back. He was kind of a wild card the last time he was here, and I came back a different person. During that period of time when I was working for Eve, you can check the press releases. I closed about 15 very serious child sex offender cases, and people went to prison for several hundred years for that stuff.
Good. We need that. We really do need that here. I love it
keep
here.
talking about child sex offense cases for a long period of time. For the most recent history of my career, I've had the most serious crimes as my caseload. Now, Dave is a real prosecutor. Normally, a county of this size, the elected DA is not going to maintain a caseload. His caseload, he has fewer cases than me, but we currently have, I believe we have 9 murder cases in our office with a total of 13 victims. That's a horrible fact. For a county this size to have that sort of level of violence,
Right.
is a horrible fact. He has 5 of those. That is unheard of. When we're talking about defense attorneys, when OPDS works out a contract for a defense attorney, no more than 4 is a full caseload for them. The only cases they would ever have. Dave has, the last time I looked at his caseload, he had exactly 500 cases, active cases, and so that means 495 cases plus 5 murders. And those 495 cases, they weren't theft threes. They weren't disorderly conducts. They are crimes where people have been seriously physically hurt. There are other criminal deaths in there that may not be murder, that are still criminal deaths. So there's a range. There's murder, which is the intentional act where you commit an action and you intend a result. That is, when you pull the trigger, you intend for that person to die. But there are other ways. There are other criminal acts that result in the death of another person. That's manslaughter and criminal he has those cases too.
Okay.
So
Wow.
yeah, Dave is a real prosecutor. He's absolutely. I have a ton of respect for him, and I learned from him. So
No, I've actually learned a lot about him through talking with Christy, Christy Gourlette. You guys are familiar with her, but it also, and I hate to say it, it puts things into perspective when you're dealing with murders and serious physical harm crimes or sexual assault crimes and things like that. It doesn't make a theft or what's happened to her any more acceptable. However, what am I going to deal with today? This person who killed somebody or this person who ruined a $2 million estate, And
it's
it's
a matter
a tough
of
choice. It's got to be.
yeah, it's an allocation of limited resources every time. It's not just our office; it's law enforcement. When they go out, do they go to that fight that's happening at Veterans Park, or do they go to the fire that's at the church? They have to make that decision. They're headed for that fire.
Yeah.
And we do the same thing. Do I look for a quick resolution on a guy with 21 open disorderly conducts so that I can focus on the complicated theft case or the person who hits his neighbor with a baseball bat? I focus on those. So
Yeah.
it's a constant trade-off. I think one of the things that I told Christy is that the role of a prosecutor is frustration after frustration. Ultimately, you get satisfaction. So that's why I'm back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just good. No.
I was just going to pivot a little bit. So I don't know if you can answer, but since you're here, what's your take on the whole, what do they call that, East Klamath County,
The East County Safety District
Oh,
or
yeah, the
whatever,
Public Safety
Public Safety District they were wanting to put out there.
Can you comment on that one? Or?
Okay. I'm gonna have to couch this a little bit because I'm fiscally conservative. I don't want taxes, but I do want a safe community. And so there's this balance. There's shit that government does that's valuable to me. I like roads, I like schools, and I like public safety. And I think those are important places for us to place our resources. And so, if I had the option to vote for a public safety levy, I would do so. I have done so repeatedly in our community. There have been several efforts in the past. I always vote yes. Now, I have not always been in a position where I would directly benefit. One of the times I voted for yes, I was in private practice. But I know how important it is. Obviously, if it were to pass, it would benefit my office to some extent because that would mean more money for the sheriff's office, which means money comes out of the general coffers that's available possibly for the DA's office. So a little bit of a vested interest there. I'm going to be completely candid on
Sure.
that. But yeah, public safety is important. One of the things that so if you think about it, most of the time that a person comes in front of a judge has any dealing with a decision that a judge is going to make. Maybe you've gone through a divorce. Maybe you've had a dispute with a business partner or a neighbor or something like that. Very few people have those sorts of issues. I guess half the population for divorces, but most of the time you're not going to have a whole lot of interaction with your judge on that. The criminal justice system, it affects every single one of your listeners, every single one of you every day, because Walmart and Sherm's, they have loss prevention officers because of crime. That means you pay more for your groceries. Our farmers are regularly having their generators and their air compressors and copper and metal stolen from their properties. It affects everyone every day.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate it.
that seemed like
Thank you.
a really important thing to say, and then it just trailed off at the end there.
No, I mean it is.
That's
I just
a good
didn't-
answer.
Yeah, it was a great answer. I didn't have a follow up for it, unfortunately.
Yeah. So me personally, will vote for it every chance I get.
And I think part of I did not this last time. I'd have to reconsider. I to some degree I misunderstood the circumstances and the challenges facing the department. I think we need to. I used to live in Bonanza.
Oh.
I used to live on Bly Mountain, so the good part. We were on the downside of Bly Mountain, got off, not up in the mountains. Anyway, I loved it out there.
Did you ever have anyone stealing your shit?
No, matter of fact, while we were building our place out there, I intentionally left behind some tools and stuff that I didn't care a whole lot about to see what kind of an area we were actually building in, and nothing ever disappeared, believe it or
Put up a
not.
game cam.
No, that would have been entertaining. It would be more entertaining now. That area where we were off of Minerbird was not a bad area back at the time.
That's
So,
it. I mean, there are truthfully better
This is
areas
20
out
years
there
ago.
Yeah.
yeah. I still have some property out there. I don't have anything built on it, but I still have property out there.
Yeah, go ahead and leave a quad out there right now.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is I haven't seen it in a little bit. I want to get out there because I can just envision somebody just deciding to make it home.
You may have a tenant that you don't know about.
Yeah. But I do have a vested interest in to some degree out there.
Yeah.
I just
Well, we all do. I mean, the truth is, even though we may not be exactly in that district that's going to see the benefit from those increased patrols, it benefits everyone because if we have that money there that's doing the increased patrols, that means that now we can dispatch more people on 97. That means that we're going to get more coverage there, or we're going to get more coverage on West County. The truth is, it's limited resources. If we have more resources and we can task them to certain areas and certain responsibilities, first off, that community knows that they're going to have someone they can go to when they need help. And it also means that we've got more people elsewhere when we need them.
does OSP and like the city police, do they face these same challenges budget wise and officer wise?
So historically, the state police have been well funded, but there has been a recent change. In fact, when I'm not going to say anyone's names, but when my guys are coming in, they're talking about reductions in their training, access to training. They're getting their bosses saying, "Hey, you don't get overtime for this stuff anymore," and so we're seeing cuts at the state police, and the PD also has the same challenges. A lot recently for the PD, it was basically an issue of them getting up to full staffing, and I think that they're fully staffed right now. And they've got some great guys.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they've taken some experienced people from other agencies, so every time the PD hires, the sheriff's got to look to see if he's lost one of his
Right.
people. So,
Well, I know of a former deputy that's now OSP because he.
oh, there's a bunch. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. So in general, in my experience, my office has served as if we're making a career prosecutor, if someone is going to be a career prosecutor, I'm going to train them for about 3 years, and then they're going to move to the other side of the mountains. For our law enforcement, and by the way, over 20 years, there's 24 of them out there that are career prosecutors. We probably had, no, I'm sorry, a dozen of them career prosecutors and 30-ish of them that are doing other practices around the state that I've trained going through the office. But our law enforcement, a lot of times, they go first to the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office is always hiring, and they are always in need of people. So they learn some basic skills, develop good habits, and then the other agencies say, "Hey, there will be times when, because of the nature of a call, multiple agencies show up. So a cop from the PD will have a chance to talk to a sheriff's deputy, and they're like, hey, he kind of gets it. And his name will get back to that agency, and so." They're encouraged, hey, we got a spot open. You should apply to us.
Drafting a little bit, huh?
Absolutely. Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, you'll hear if you get 3 different uniforms in a room together, they're talking about the benefits of their agency to one another. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, city police, I've got some experience. I'm with the Rip City Riders.
Yep.
And we get brought in to do the barricades for the crews every year. And so we interact with the city police quite a bit when we're doing that. And they seem like a great group of guys. So
all 3 agencies.
Yeah.
All 3 agencies. They're again, I've worked with them for 20 years. They're fantastic. There are individuals sometimes there are problems that tend to take care of themselves. So, but that's one of the every agency has those, and every one of the supervisors, the bosses, all have to deal with those. I'm fortunate.
Well, yeah, and some of what's popped up recently for our sheriff, I feel bad because he's had some guys do some pretty off the wall stuff in the this year for him his first year. So
But it's not just him. I mean, in my
right.
career, every single agency has had employees that have had issues. Not just always uniformed officers as well. Internal staff that have caused problems and stuff.
Right. Well, no, that misconstrued. That was a sympathetic note towards him, not an accusatory one at all. So I don't want to clarify.
Well, you got to remember. I'm not going to say that.
Okay.
Look at that. Look at me showing some judgment.
No pun intended, correct?
Maybe when the cameras are off, we can have that discussion. So.
Well, again, I kind of ran through the questions that I had. I don't know if you had
No, I'm good.
Okay.
anything.
So if you guys want me to come back to talk about sentencing guidelines at some point, happy to do it, because I didn't talk about Measure 73, which is the repeat property crime stuff. And we didn't really talk about the Oregon sentencing grid at all. Happy to talk. It's going to blow your mind.
Okay.
You guys, when you learn how it works, you guys will find it amazing. And one of the reasons, so like I said, I'm the senior deputy DA. I serve largely as a chief deputy. We don't have a chief deputy in our office right now. Normally, an office our size would have an elected DA, handles most of the administrative stuff, and is the public face for the office. Then you have a chief deputy. That person is then the first level of supervisors for the attorneys, maintains a caseload, but also does some administrative stuff and also handles community partner stuff.
Okay.
So I do some of that. So I'm Dave's backup for our child abuse MDT, multidisciplinary team. But I'm the chair for the adult sex abuse, domestic violence, and elder abuse multidisciplinary teams. And so I also run our grand jury, and which means every 2 months I orient a new grand jury, and I do the same sort of thing that we're doing right now. So we talk about it. And so after grand jury's been seated for a little while, they're going to say, now that we're done talking about that case, what's that guy really looking at getting? And I'm like, not yet. First off, when the grand jury is deliberating, so grand jury is just like a petit jury. So a petit jury is a trial jury.
Okay.
So a grand jury, the same rules apply. Rules of evidence apply. The standard that they have to use is, instead of beyond a reasonable doubt, they're determining whether or not there's probable cause. And so it's a little bit lower. It's evidence otherwise uncontroverted, which means that they get to hear the evidence and they don't consider possible defenses. So there are times when our grand jury is going to hear a case where they think, well, that guy can't have been sane. And I know that is true, and that ultimately is not going to result in a traditional criminal conviction. Instead, it's going to result in some sort of other resolution of that case. They don't get to consider that. Even though I know at the time of charging, I know who this individual is, I know how this case is going to proceed, they don't get to consider that. So just like a regular jury is this artificial environment where the information going in is limited by the rules of evidence, the same thing applies to our grand jury. So I have a conversation with them just like we're having now. I say, here's what your job is. Maybe I should do grand jury. At some point, it's a great opportunity to educate. And
Sure.
I only get to do it 7 people at a time, 6 times a year. So, and I know that our grand jurors love it.
Okay. And I'll leave it up to you. If you want to expand on that now, that's fine. If you've always got an open seat here, if you'd like to come back.
I better get going.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not doing court, but I've got a couple things that I have to take care of on my desk, and I have to get back to a defense attorney on a particular matter. So I do need to get back today.
Sure. And that's kind of why I limited the questions a little bit and wanted to run off of the agenda here, because
If you want to make some notes, things I'm happy to come back and talk about are Oregon sentencing guidelines. Mini Measure 11, which is ballot measure 73. Happy to talk about that. I'll do the regular grand jury orientation, so you guys understand the role of a grand jury as compared to the role of a regular petit or trial jury.
all right, I missed the second one of those. We had the sentencing guidelines, the grand jury, but there was one in between.
Sentencing guidelines and Mini Measure 11 are together. They will
Okay.
fit together nicely. Those are just generally explaining to the community how our offices and the judges are constrained by the Oregon sentencing guidelines.
Okay.
So when you think of a Class A felony in Oregon, maximum possible penalty is up to 5 years in prison. Never going to get anywhere near that under Oregon law. Oregon sentencing guidelines come in, and as soon as they do, for a big hunk of those C felonies is 5 years. I think I misstated. So for a C felony, that's the lowest level felony. It goes A, B, C, A being the most serious. For a C felony, the maximum possible penalty is 5 5 years in prison. Most of the crimes that fall on the grid on that, we're going to look at 8 to 20 months in prison.
Is there an opportunity for time off of that if you're
Oh
a
yeah,
model?
Oh,
I figured.
we'll talk.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I get you wanted another way to be frustrated. So this is the Department of Corrections is not in the business of housing inmates, and we're not supposed to call them inmates. They get some other hippie name now. I don't know. It's like people accused of bad acts or something like that. So I think it's adults in custody is the correct term right now, but inmates. So Department of Corrections isn't in the business of housing inmates. Their job is to get them out as fast as they can. And so here's the great thing is that a person who's been convicted of a crime, regardless of what the crime is, unless it's a Measure 11 crime, DOC assumes that as soon as you get to prison, you're going to be well behaved. So we're going to give you good time right off the top. You're here you're on a sentence of 100 months. We're knocking 20% off the top of that just to start. Boom, 20% good time because you're going to behave. You learned your lesson. Then the next thing is after you've served a certain portion of your time, you are then eligible to enter into programs. And if you complete a qualified program, you have the ability to reduce your sentence by an additional 20%. So, and that's
It's on sale.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, hey,
Programs. Is that like an ability to learn a trade or a skill? Or?
some of those, yeah, but
Okay.
it also includes things like getting a GED, which I just used hippie in a pejorative term, but from a hippie standpoint, education is really one of the keys to addressing underlying causes of criminality. The more educated you are, the less likely you are to commit crimes. Just straight up, because you have more work opportunities. And if you're working, you don't have time or the need to commit crimes.
The thing that blows me away is the effort some of these people put into committing crimes, that if they put that same effort into something legitimate, they would be doing fine.
Long time ago. I can talk about this case because it's a long time ago. We had a guy that was an exceptionally skilled thief, to the point where he would actually, he was breaking into a bunch of storage units. And they're like, none of these locks are damaged. What the hell's going on? And so you think, I've got my storage unit, I'm going to put a padlock on it, it's good, it's whatever quality, what. He's like, oh no, what you don't know about this one is, take a shoestring and you wrap it around this and you give it a zip and it just hits all the little things. And he showed him all these different ways that he was stealing stuff. And he'd been learning stuff and practicing, and he would show them these tools that he had made for opening stuff. All this work that went into it. Like you said, if he had applied those skills, he would have been a fantastic mechanic.
Locksmith?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And if you try to get a locksmith,
Right.
like, oh yeah, if you're not on the side of the road right now, we can be there in 3 weeks.
Right? Right? Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. What a shame. I mean, you see that stuff, and it's just a shame. So,
All of our locksmiths, by the way, if I need
Right.
you, man.
well, cool. I know you got to get going, so I just want to thank
so
you
much.
very
Yeah,
much.
thank you so
for
much.
coming on.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you.
And